Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks, from my shelter as usual. Just in case we are interrupted by a warning to get to shelter, this seems to be the routine that we are having to undergo at the moment. But this is the Israel Brief, where you come for your news from Israel every Monday to Thursday. And we bring it to you. Rain, shine, missile attacks, we have got you covered. As always, we do it in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land, and a little bit more about where you can find us coming up in the show. Now, it is day 622. And as all eyes are focused on Operation Rising Lion, Israel's self-defensive preemptive strikes on the Iranian nuclear program, which I think is actually, to quote Chancellor Merz from Germany, it is Israel doing the dirty work of the world, getting rid of that Iranian nuclear program and taking out those military targets. But while all eyes are on that, we don't forget, not for a second, that we still have 53 hostages being held captive in the Gaza Strip. Now we are all absolutely exhausted in Israel. Another 2 barrages last night, one at midnight, and a massive barrage this morning with quite a lot of significant hits. So let's go through that, because these are your latest headlines with regards to Operation Rising Lion. So this morning, reasonably early, Iran fired a barrage of about 20 ballistic missiles towards the state of Israel, hitting targets across various points. Some in Holon, Ramat Gan, and significantly hit was Soroka Hospital in Beersheba. Now, Soroka Hospital services about 1 million people in the area, including Bedouins, Arabs, Christians, Jews. And in what can only be described as a miracle, yesterday the hospital evacuated the patients from the area that was significantly hit earlier today. Nevertheless, there have still been quite a number of people who were injured as a result of this morning's rocket attacks from all over the country, and they have been taken to various hospitals. Now, I want to stress something. Iran is targeting Israel's civilian population indiscriminately. And for Israel's detractors, you'll say, yes, but Israel has fired on hospitals in the Gaza Strip. Israel has fired on hospitals in the Gaza Strip after evacuating patients for one reason. They are missile storage facilities. There are points where Hamas and other terror groups gather to plan to carry out attacks. And there are places from which attacks against our soldiers and our civilians are launched. Not to mention the tunnel shafts that have been found in these hospitals and tunnels that exist under these hospitals. As we have been saying since the 7th of October, Hamas has used or prepared its civilian population as a human shield. And when you understand what happens underground and the human shield strategy, you understand why the Gaza Strip has so much destruction above ground. This is Hamas's strategy. So there's a fundamental difference, and Israel operates within the laws of armed conflict. Now, President Herzog and Prime Minister Netanyahu have both visited Soroka Hospital. The foreign minister has set up a press office from Soroka Hospital. President Herzog, visiting this morning, said that civilians or patients and medical staff were deliberately targeted. In other parts of the country where there were significant hits, you could see Israel's rescue and recovery teams. Again, thank you to our first responders carrying out children, the elderly, pets, people's pets, and whatever civilians they could get out. Thank goodness, a million times we've had no fatalities, but we have had some seriously injured casualties. So let's take a look at some of the stats. I can actually hear a jet overhead. These days we don't know if it's the roar of a jet or if it's interceptions or what it is. This is the situation we're living in at the moment. Okay, so let's take a look at some of those stats. These are as of 9 a.m. this morning. Over 400 rockets launched towards Israel, hundreds of UAVs or drones, more than 40 impact sites, 24 people murdered, 838 people injured, 11 in serious condition, 42 in moderate condition, 785 with light injuries. Now, according to Israel's Home Front Command, more than 5,000 people have been evacuated from their homes, and more about that in the audience question coming up a little later. Prime Minister Netanyahu said that Iran will pay a full price for targeting civilians, and Defense Minister Israel Katz said that Khamenei, the Ayatollah Khamenei, will pay for his crimes. Meanwhile, an Israeli Defense Force official speaking to Reuters earlier today says they believe that Israel has hit about 2/3 of Iran's missile launches. There are still about 100 missile launches left, and the army continues to strike at those military targets, including one of the plutonium enrichment sites that is not currently in use, but we don't want that site to be used to launch attacks either. While a huge concern that some of the weapons that were fired towards Israel today had added munitions, they were kind of cluster missiles that were fired towards Israeli civilian populations in order to create multiple or mass casualty events. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation released a statement earlier today heavily criticizing media, including CNN, Reuters, The Washington Post, and others, for posting about incidents of violence that do not happen at GHF distribution centers. Now, just as a point of interest, a great friend of Israel, Colonel Richard Kemp, the former head of the British Armed Forces in Afghanistan, he was at one of the distribution centers yesterday. He has posted that on his social media. You can see Gazans coming to get their food, very, very peaceful, very, very calm. Some of them saying we hate Hamas and we want Hamas out. Now, according to the statement, the violent incidents took place, regrettably, at the UN World Food Programme distribution site. Now, that is run by the United Nations, and that is very, very vulnerable to Hamas's hijacking aid trucks and opening fire on civilians. And I think that we all have to be concerned that some of these statements that are put out by the Gaza-controlled Health Authority are picked up and parroted by media outlets like Al Jazeera, as well as the United Nations. According to a local report in Syria, a drone that was fired from Iran was intercepted by Israel over Syrian territory. Now, something very interesting occurred last week. Syria gave permission for the Israeli Air Force to use its airspace to strike targets in Iran. I think that is quite a significant development. As you guys know, there has been quite a lot of talk about Syria wanting to enter into the Abraham Accords, and we really hope that this will be a reality. I think with the toppling of the Iranian regime, however that may happen, and that is not a stated goal of Israel, I think that we will see a massive change in the region, and I, for one, can't wait for the day when we have the Cyrus Accords, the joining together of the two noble nations, the Jewish state and the Persian people, back together. We have historic bonds. We stand with each other against the Iranian regime, and may that day become a reality. And finally, Israel's police have arrested several international broadcasters for breaking the law. This is from filming at missile interception sites. Some of these media outlets are used by Al Jazeera and others. Al Jazeera is banned in Israel as well as in a number of Middle Eastern countries for propagating the propaganda of the Muslim Brotherhood. So they are banned in Israel, they're banned by the Palestinian Authority, by Egypt, by Bahrain, by the Emirates and by other countries. Now the reason why we do not want international outlets or any media, social media, any media, broadcasting or sharing photographs from impact sites is because it could seriously endanger our lives here in Israel. We know that Iran is watching closely and they can calibrate their missiles, their weapons, according to where they see impact. So if you see people sharing pictures, please guys, don't. Let's help save lives, don't help the enemy. So those are top stories. Let's take a look at the audience question before we get into the big list of mentions and morons. And our question comes from Hillary Gordon, who says, Rolene, where are the evacuees? So great question, Hillary. I guess you could say, fortunately, Israel is well equipped to handle this, especially in the wake of the 7th of October, where we had to handle mefunim, or evacuees from the north and the south. And thank goodness there are hotels in Tel Aviv and around who have welcomed them and who are housing them at the moment. So that's where they are. And now let's take a look at your mentions and your morons. So quite a lot this week. So let's take a look at those morons first. So morons include French President Emmanuel Macron for his comment about it wouldn't be wise for a regime change in Iran. We've got the actor Javier Bardem for his going on The View, and he's using every opportunity to demonize Israel, to spew venom against Israel, to accuse Israel of genocide, naturally while staying quiet about this. In fact, I haven't heard a peep from Hollywood, from human rights organizations, from the United Nations Security Council, from the UN Secretary General, from anyone about the indiscriminate targeting of Israeli civilian populations. And you can be sure that World Health Organization Chair Tedros Ghebreyesus won't say a peep about Soroka Hospital. And the final moron of the week, this is my pick for moron of the week, is Whoopi Goldberg for going on The View for saying that in 2025 the United States is worse than Iran, and saying that black people have it worse than Iranians. Now, I cannot speak on behalf of African American or black people, but I can speak on behalf of my sisters in Iran who have been beaten, tortured, imprisoned, and in the case of Mahsa Amini, who has been killed as a result of not wearing the hijab properly. I can speak on behalf of the amount of young people, including sports stars and anyone standing up against the regime, who have been beaten, tortured, imprisoned and executed. I can speak on behalf of the LGBTQ plus community who have been executed, some as young as 13. And I can speak on behalf of our entire region that has been held under the jackboot of terrorism. So Whoopi, while you gaslight the oppression and suffering of the people of Iran, and by extension the people of the Middle East, because Iran is the greatest sponsor of terror, while you choose between vacation homes and which luxury car you will drive, and sit on The View very comfortably with your very, very fat cat salary, you may want to sit this one out because you don't know what the beep you are talking about. Shut up, Whoopi. What a disappointment you have turned out to be. And let's end this week on a positive note by looking at the mentions. I've got some nominations in for Erin Molan. Erin is doing a spectacular job. She is in Israel. She is stranded here, but she's making good use of her time by telling the stories from the ground. Erin, if you're watching, we love you and we consider you part of our extended family. Jason Isaacs, the actor Jason Isaacs, for wearing his yellow hostage pin. He says he has been called all kinds of names, including Zion Nazi and baby killer, but he believes that he will continue to speak for the hostages because that is a human rights issue, and he is very proud of his Jewish heritage. So we love you, Jason Isaacs. Guys, we're exhausted here in Israel, okay? So if I sound like I'm half asleep, I am half asleep. And other mentions include the IDF. Absolutely the IDF, our lions in the sky and on the ground and in the sea. Our first responders doing phenomenal work. Our Israel Police, Zaka, Magen David Adom, United Hatzalah, Israel Fire and Rescue, every single first responder, you are phenomenal. And the people of Israel, who have been nothing less than a nation of lions. So guys, on that note, I'm going to leave you, but don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook page is at Lottel Site. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. If you like our content, please hit that subscribe button. And we're on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, on X at Lay of the Land 5. Guys, God bless you all. Please, God, we have a quieter weekend. Shabbat Shalom, and I'll see you on the other side of this. Bye for now.